Hi, thank you so much for watching 2003. My name is Neil Trulio. I am the Education Director for SeriesFest, and I'm so excited to be here with the writer, director, producer, star of 2003, Malum Lagan. Malum, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So glad you're here. I think I just want to start with, tell me about the genesis of this project. Was this born out of a school university project, or is this something that you did on your own? How did this come to be?
Yeah, it's something. 2003 is something that I originally conceived a long time ago. I was a senior in high school, this summer going into college, and at that time I was watching Entourage, but I was also watching a lot of like crime shows. I was watching Snowfall and all these different kind of shows, and I was looking at um, telling a story about a young artist who eventually, this piece is kind of a short preview, but eventually takes a position at an agency that's involved in a lot of Hollywood espionage and kind of combining the spy action that I grew up loving and the kind of Hollywood world that I grew also loving and I was headed into going into LA. And the project has evolved as I've actually been in Los Angeles, met people in the industry, and just have continued, as a writer myself, to move within it, and really wanted to tell the story about kind of the lengths of which someone would go to really clutch onto their dream or clutch onto what in life brings them a lot of passion, and how that can push us to very morally compromising places, if we don't really check that. And so, yeah, yeah.
It starts, I couldn't help but think, I wonder how autobiographical is the story, because just for the first episode, you're a young Black writer trying to sort of champion himself at any cost,
Right.
even kind of like going out on a limb, in the gym. How much of it is based on you as a young writer, you as a young
Right.
up and comer in the industry? How much of it do you feel is autobiographical, and how much is sort of fictionalized for the character?
I would say about 50%. There's some moments that are like the joke Ty tells in the beginning is a real joke that my granddad actually does tell. Uh, but I am also the oldest sibling, and I actually have two younger brothers. I do not have a sister. So there's little twists here and there um, that I kind of sought to incorporate. But the core of the character, the core of who Ty is a pretty reflective of me, I would say. He's someone in a much more vulnerable position than I am, and things have not worked out for him at all where he is in the show. And so it was kind of looking at putting him in the most desperate position, um, and then seeing how, what's the realistic action, uh, good or bad, that he would take from that. So, yeah.
I guess my next question is kind of a two-part question. One, you talk about where it's going. You already told us a little bit about the depths at which somebody might go to make it in the industry, and we just get a flavor of that in the first episode of who this woman is that he's on the phone with and what this agency is. So clearly you have a vision for where it's going. But I also want to ask you about, you split episode one sort of into two parts. Is it something that you imagined as the series went on as being more webisode, sort of 9-10 minute episodes, or did you see each episode as two parts, or is that just how this one shook out?
Yeah, I actually, so at the time I made it, it's actually evolved since when I did it. The time I made it, it was going to be kind of each 20 to 30 minute kind of episodes. But now actually 2003 is actually looking at existing in an hour-long format. And the reason I pivoted to that is because I wanted to make sure that I got enough of the espionage stuff in there, in addition to the comedy and the relationships and everything that we see in the first episode. So I wanted to actually expand it. And so where it is now as a series, in further development is that 15-minute or that 15 to 17-minute piece you still see is in there, but it's kind of broken up along an hour-long time frame. And the episodes going forward are going to be like that as well. As far as the kind of broken up storytelling, I really do enjoy that. I think a filmmaker that does it really well recently was Promising Young Woman. Why am I? Emerald. Tarantino does it really well as well. Because I think kind of when you break up the story, something about it feels a little more cohesive, and you kind of get a taste when I kind of say part two to dinner of, okay, this is about the dinner. This is about the proposal that we've talked about during the episode. And this is really setting the piece for that. And so I do enjoy kind of using those title cards to break up different dramatic points and in the episode. And that's something I'll do even in the expanded hour-long format. So yeah.
So when you say you're looking at it as an expanded hour long, is are you using the pilot that we just watched, that we've seen as sort of a teaser taster for selling it to a production company as an hour long series? What's the process now to go from where you're at to where you imagine it could be?
That is 100% the case. And so I look at it as a proof of concept. I would love to play Ty if it was picked up. So it shows, okay, this is what it looks like for me to perform as Ty. This is kind of what the idea of the world looks like. In the production of 2003, we wanted to get a really distinct color and like visual look for it as well. And so kind of getting an idea for, okay, this is what the show could be executed in a produced way. We were talking earlier about kind of looking at the script and looking at the production of the pilot, and how there's a lot that comes across when you actually get to see something edited. You get to see kind of the music added in. I'm a big fan of early 2000s R&B and early 2000s hip hop and 90s, as you see, kind of prevalent in the show. And so the ability to actually hear or have the audience tune in and hear the songs is really powerful as well. And so that's why I really wanted to execute a teaser, as you would say, or a proof of concept. Yeah.
Is the music the reason why it's 2003, why it's a period piece, why you set it so strictly in 2003, or what was the inspiration for that?
Yeah, the music is one of the big reasons, but I would say even more than that, really looking at the way Fame operated back then. I think Fame operates a lot differently now, and so I think now you're in a space where, with social media and with the multiple platforms we have, there's a lot more going on, and so people's eyes are averted in so many different ways. And when there is a scandal, it might trend for a week, but it kind of can pass over. And back then, Fame was really concentrated to a smaller base of people, and specifically looking at it through a Black lens. The industry just wasn't as diverse back then, and so a young Black writer now coming into the industry, looking at pipelines, looking at different programs that back in 2003 just did not exist, and so Ty has a way bigger mountain to climb up to reach his goal. But also, Leona's arc throughout the series will be kind of looking at what it was like to be a Black movie star at that point in time, right? Where the industry is just still, in the 2000s, so far behind in terms of diversity, in terms of how they treat Black talent, but also the kind of Black stories that are being made, and negotiating kind of your authenticity with, of course, her pressure of being really the breadwinner and the primary person bringing in money for not just Ty, but a lot of her family, and that pressure that she'll feel and how she'll balance that. And so, yeah.
What you talked about, sort of the pipeline and how it being maybe a little bit more available now than maybe it was in 2003. I think that's
Right.
something I definitely want to talk to you about, because not only are you a young Black writer, creator, storyteller, but you are a champion for other young Black writers and storytellers with Diverso. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on there and the kind of work you're doing there?
Of course. And so I'm on the board for Diverso. I'm director of impact and partnerships, and Diverso is a student-run nonprofit that builds initiatives for other students trying to break into the entertainment industry. And it was launched about 2.5 years ago now. Our first initiative was a Minority Report, which was a fellowship program that selected the best diverse student screenwriters in the country, as we like to say, and gave them programming and tools to ultimately get them staffed and assigned by the end of the program. That program is now in the course of wrapping its second year and is still replicating that same success. Also, during my time at Diverso, I ideated, co-created, and co-fundraised for Black Writers in Focus, which is the first ever paid internship for Black student screenwriters. Diverso sponsored, of course, under that Diverso umbrella. And we are now in the first summer of that program. We selected 4 writers from over 446 submissions from across 164 universities. And we're able to receive funding from people like Warner Media, Issa Rae's Hooray, Oprah Winfrey's Own to make it a possibility. And so really excited about that. That's what I'll be running this summer. And really excited for Diverso in the future as well, because I think there's a gap in the industry right now to give um, young writers, young directors, young editors, as we want to kind of expand and get more filmmakers involved, and young people of color, that chance between, you're in school, you're coming out of school, and many writers, such as Ty, kind of have to make that decision between uh, continuing to follow their passion, but also life, right? And life that hits especially BIPOC people really hard economically. And if you don't have that same support, what do you do? And kind of with Black Writers in Focus, with the Minority Report, giving writers that extra breathing space to say, hey, we know you have the talent and we don't want audiences or the industry to miss out on it. And so we're giving you the tools to kind of make that leap, get your first job, get your first manager and agent, and keep going from there. So, yeah.
Well, it sounds awesome. It's incredible work that you do. I know you're going to be very, very successful as you move out there, as you take this project, other projects forward. So thank you so much for being a part of SeriesFest this year.
Of course. I'm so excited to be a part of this. Thank you, Neil, for talking to me.
Of course. And we just want to thank one more time, Once Upon a Time Productions and Xfinity, our year-round education sponsors, for making something like this possible. Thanks so much, Malum.
All right. Thank you. You have a good one.